أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
Majority of the scholars, some of them had stated, well, these matters are either measurement, we said, like the saw, like the mud, you put your hand together and you have the dates in your hand. It's a measurement of size, it's a measurement of the size. Or they stated, well, it's a measurement of kilograms with regards to these four. They were looking, they were discussing what's the common factor between 1, 2, 3 and 4. Some of them stated that these are staple food matters and it can be stored. And this is the opinion of the Maliki scholars and many contemporary scholars, that tamr, bur, milh and sha'ir, the common factor is that they were staple food items at the time of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they can be stored for long periods of time. So that which has that commonality from amongst other items today would also follow the same ruling. So they would include, and they would say, for example, rice. Rice is a staple food today and it can be stored for a long period of time, so it will follow the rulings of those four. They would also say beans, for example, can be stored for a long period of time and it is a staple diet, meaning staple diet, your body, you yourself, you can survive on eating on this for long periods of time. So beans also follows the rulings of the four above. Sugar, for example, also follow the rulings of the four above. What about bananas? Would that follow the rulings of the four above? Is the banana something which can last for a long time? Is it something that you really need it for your life? The answer is no. So it will not follow the rulings of the four above, and it will not be regarded as an item which is ribawi, an item of the riba items. So oranges, bananas, tomatoes, books, cars, etc., they are not items which are stored. And number two, they are not items that your body depends upon or your body can survive on. So the illah for the last four is number one, qut, it being from the staple foods, and number two, iddikhar, iddikhar meaning it can be stored. Proof for this is the hadith of Ma'mar, where the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, at-ta'amu bit-ta'am. And if you look at those four which were mentioned, what's the common factor? Think about it. The common factor is that they were staple food items at the time of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and number two, they can be stored for long periods of time. Now, ikhwan ya akhawat, understand and understand well. When we said that riba in buyu', riba in business transactions, fall into two categories. Number one, riba fadl, and number two, riba nasi'a. Listen to this. When it comes to riba fadl, we are talking about jins. We are talking about the genus. We are talking about that. We will explain. When we are talking about riba nasi'a, we are talking about the illah. We are talking about the common factor. وَبِالْمِثَالِ يَتَّضِحْ الْمَقَالِ. And with examples, the matter will become clear later on, inshaAllah. Just remember, riba fadl, it deals with the genus. It deals with the type. It deals with the jins in the Arabic language. Riba nasi'a is dealing with the common factor, dealing with the illah. The author states, وَلَا يَجُوزُ بَيْعُ مَطْعُومٍ مَكِيلٍ أو موزون بجنسه إلا مثلا بمثل. جيد. Maybe we will discuss it through our introduction and then go to the text. We've now understood you have two types of riba. Riba duyun and riba buyu'. Riba duyun has two categories. At the time of payment, we increase upon it, or at the beginning, at the time you take out the loan, it is conditional, you must pay in extra. In riba buyu', riba fadl and riba nasi'a. Now, there are 5 exchange options when it comes to these 6 which were mentioned above, and those which we make qiyas upon them, like your dollar, like your salt, like your rice, like your beans. Jayid. Number 1, the first option is when one exchanges a ribawi for a ribawi. A ribawi meaning one of these 6 which have this, that riba runs through them. that riba, that they are items of riba. If one exchanges a ribawi for a ribawi from the same genus, if one exchanges a riba item for another riba item from the same type, this means if one exchanges gold for gold, one exchanges silver for silver, genus or jins, every one of them is a jins, every one of them is a genus. So gold is a genus, silver is a genus. If you exchange gold for gold, then it must be the same and it must be immediate transaction. So if one exchanges a ribawi for another ribawi from the same genus, gold for gold, silver for silver, dates for dates, salt for salt, barley for barley, then two conditions. Number one, it must be the same amount, and number two, it must be a spot transaction. I give you 1 kg of gold, you give me 1 kg of gold, and we exchange it together while we are here, and then we part. I give you 20 grams of silver, you give me 20 grams of silver, we exchange it and we part. I give you an amount of salt, you give me a similar amount of salt, and we part. This is how it's supposed to be transacted. If it's not transacted like this, if it is extra on one side, I give you 2 kilograms of gold and you give me 1 kilogram of gold, this is haram. I give you 1 kilogram of gold, you give me one, but you give me after 5 days, this is also haram. What's the two conditions? Must be the same and must be immediate. Take note, with regards to must be the same, this is, for example, when it comes to gold, when it comes to silver, in terms of grams. The grams must be the same. Also, it must be the same type of gold. So 24 karat gold, 5 grams 25 karat gold must be exchanged for 5 grams of 24 karat gold. You cannot exchange 24 karat gold for something which is 9 carats of gold. Why? Because they are not equal. This one has more gold and that one has less gold. Even if it is new gold, let's say I have a block here of old gold for the past maybe 20 years I had this gold. It's 1 kilogram of old gold. And then I have 1 kilogram of fancy new gold. 1 kilogram of old gold, 1 kilogram of new gold. One might say, well, the new gold might be much more in value. People would purchase this, people would like this, and people would want this more. But when it comes to this sharia, when it comes to this transaction, we will transact 1 kilogram of old gold for 1 kilogram of new gold, because the criteria for measuring whether they are the same in gold and silver is grams. That's the criteria, not whether it's old, not whether it's good, not whether it's old or whether it is new, not whether it's shiny or whether it's not shiny, but the criteria for similarity, for keeping it sawa and bisawa, as in the hadith, must be the same, is the level of grams. And when it comes to, for example, dates for dates, it must be the same, even if these are old dates, even if those are new dates. When it comes to dates, what is the measurement, the criteria for similarity? It is scale. It is scale which is the measurement. So for example, they have this saw, which is this type of bowl, and they would put the dates in it. And so this is 1 saw of dates. It might be new dates. And then you have another saw, and this might be old dates. You might say, well, the old dates, 1 saw is worth a little bit of money, and 1 saw of new dates is worth much more in its value. But the Sharia does not look at that value. The Sharia, when it concentrates on similarity, looks at the measurement. The measurement is 1 saw for 1 saw. 1 saw of old dates will be exchanged for 1 saw of new dates. That's how it's supposed to be done. Whether the value of this one is more, the value of that one is more, etc. in the market makes no difference. The measurement is in its saw. So, when we exchange gold for gold, when we exchange silver for silver, dates for dates, dollars for dollars, exchange rands for rands, pounds for pounds, must be the same and must be an immediate transaction. That's the first category. Second category, if one exchanges a ribawi for a ribawi from different genus but the same illah. I repeat, if one exchanges a ribawi item for a ribawi item from different genus, we said gold was a genus, silver was a genus, salt was a genus. Now they are stating you are exchanging a ribawi item for another ribawi item, but from a different genus. So you are exchanging gold for silver, salt for barley, gold for barley, silver for salt. In this case, example as we said, gold for silver, dates for salt, dollars for pounds, rands for yen, francs for marks, gold for pounds. Here only one condition is required, and that is the transaction must be immediate. It must be on the spot. I can give you 1 kilogram of gold for 10,000 kilograms of silver, no problem, but it must be an immediate transaction. At one place I give you, you give me, and then we part. I can exchange $1 for £1,000,000, no problem whatsoever, but the transaction must be done immediately on the spot. You take your pounds, I take my dollars, and we part. So this was ribawi for ribawi, but from a different genus. Only one condition is required. The third category, a ribawi for a ribawi from different genus and different illah. You remember, we said that gold and silver, gold is a genus, silver is a genus, but gold and silver together, they fall within one category, which is their illah. Their common factor is what? Is thamaniyya. It's a means for exchange. Jaid. As for the salt and the barley, etc., those four, yes, they each one of them is a genus on its own, but four put together, what's the common factor? Common factor is that it can be stored and it's from the staple foods. Now the author, or rather now we state, if one exchanges a ribawi for a ribawi from different genus and illa, so we're hopping across. It is gold for barley, it is silver for salt, it is salt for gold. We're not talking about gold and silver, we're not talking about salt and barley, but rather they are skipping across. Gold for barley, gold for salt, gold for dates, silver for barley, silver for dates, etc. In this case, there are no conditions whatsoever. You can take 5 dinars, you can go and buy salt. That man will deliver the salt after a month, no problem whatsoever. It does not have to be the same, it does not have to be immediate. You can take dollars, which obviously follows the rulings of gold and silver. You can take your dollars, you can purchase a car. Is the car a ribawi item? No, car is not a ribawi item. You can purchase salt, Jayid. So salt is a ribawi item. You can purchase salt. The man delivers the salt after a month. You purchase dates. The man delivers the dates after a month. So here we exchanged $1, which is a ribawi item, for another ribawi item, which is dates or salt, 2 ribawi items. But they are from different genus, and they both have different illahs, different common factors. This one's common factor is that it's a staple diet and can be stored. This one's common factor is that it is thamaniyya. It has this intrinsic value in it, and it is a medium of exchange. That's the third category that we've taken. The fourth category, one exchanges a ribawi for a non-ribawi. I give you 20,000 kilograms of salt and you give me a car. Any issue? You give me a car after a month. No issues, no problems whatsoever, and no preconditions at all. Basically, we are discussing 5 options. These are the only 5 options that you can have. We saw that in the first and the second, there are preconditions. The first one must be the same and must be immediate. Second category does not have to be the same level, but it must be an immediate transaction. Third category, no conditions. Fourth category, also no preconditions. A ribawi for a non-ribawi. I give you gold, you give me a car after a month, no problem. I give you salt, you give me a book after a month, no problem. I give you a desk, you give me dates after a month, no problem whatsoever. I give you reals, you give me reals, and you give me, for example, dates after a month, no problem whatsoever. No conditions whatsoever. This is ribawi for a non-ribawi. So on one side we have a ribawi item, salt for a book, gold for a car, dates for a book, for example. Ribawi on one side, non-ribawi on the other, no preconditions. And the last one, obviously, non-ribawi for a non-ribawi. What's a non-ribawi? A car for a book, a pen for a calculator, a cushion for a bed. I give you one car, you give me 5 cars. I sell to you one desk, you sell to me 20 desks. We exchange, no problem whatsoever. So those are the 5 categories that we had taken. The first one, ribawi for a ribawi from the same genus, gold for gold, silver for silver, dollar for dollar, 2 preconditions. Number 2, ribawi for a ribawi from different genus but the same illa, gold for silver, salt for barley. Different genus, but same illa. We got these 2 on one side, gold and silver. The other 4, each one of them has the common factor. One condition would be, and that is, it must be immediate transaction, on the spot. Third category, ribawi for ribawi from different genus and illa. It's a ribawi for a ribawi, different genus and illa. Gold for salt, salt for silver, no preconditions. Fourth category, ribawi for a non-ribawi. Dollars for a car. Ribawi is the dollar, car is non-ribawi, no precondition. Salt for a book, no preconditions. Last one, non-ribawi for non-ribawi. Non-ribawi, for example, a car for in exchange for 20 cars. A book in exchange for a watch, no preconditions. Walhamdulillah. With that, we have summarized the entire section. The author states, وَلَا يَجُوزُ بَيْعُ مَطْعُومٍ makil or mawzoon bijinsihi illa mithlan bimithal. It is not permissible to trade an edible commodity, one that is sold by measure. Measure is makil, like the mud or the saw. It is sold in measure. Or one that is sold by weight in kilograms, for one of the same species, one of the same genus, one of the same jins, except in equal quantities. Take note. According to the author, the common factor between dates, salt, barley, and sha'ir, etc., what's the common factor according to the author? According to the author, and there are many opinions from Imam Ahmed, and we did mention across the madahib, many opinions with regards to what is the common factor. That's why the Zahiri said, we just stick to those 6, we don't look for a common factor. Because you people are differing so much, we're not interested, we just stick to the 6. Majority of the scholars did make qiyas, and we saw that it seems that it is staple food and it can be stored. Whereas according to the opinion taken by the author, it is something which is a food item that can be measured and is measured either in kale, either in sa', or it can be weighed. This is the common factor according to the author. It must be a food item. Barley, dates, etc. What's the common factor according to the author? It is something which is edible, and it is something which is measured, or it is something which is measured in kilograms, measured in the sa' or the mud in terms of its size, or it is measured in kilograms. That's the common factor according to the author.